record on this computer. Okay, I've hit record. This is Forget Computers Live. I'm Ben Greiner. We've got Chad Calise, and we've got Michelle Charles all on from Forget Computers. And this meeting is focused on communication with our primary contacts, our clients, and helping them get the word out to their team about what's going on, what's happening. And before I get started, I'm going to share my screen. And I want to, let's see, easier said than done. What am I sharing?
There it goes.
Okay. Actually, that's my entire screen. Where are my controls now? Oh, here, they're on my other screen.
How do hackers do this stuff?
I know. Let me try this again. Share. Here we go. Okay, I want to point out this is our team, and I want to mention Chris Youngstead.
Cool.
Who is now celebrating the Wizard. He's now celebrating 20 years with Forget Computers. So for those of you who have talked to Chris in the past, or will talk to him with a support request in the coming days, or even the rest of the year, please comment on how much we value Chris being a part of the Forget Computers family for the past 20 years.
That's amazing.
And we're going to be talking, we're going to have Chris on as a guest on our podcast tomorrow.
That's right.
That's right.
And we'll make this a month-long, at least a month-long celebration of
cool
20 years with Chris Youngstead. So I want to mention that. That's right. And then I want to also mention in our help center, which is support.forgetcomputers.com. Anyone who goes here should see this, and they can go right into Forget Computers. And last week's recording is here, and this recording is here as well.
Is that your dog?
Sorry.
What's his name or her name?
Grace.
Grace. Cool name.
Yes.
Grace. Come hang out with us, Grace.
Come here. Gracie, come.
Yeah. I should let Meta.
Let's see.
Come here. Come here. Come here. Put your face up here. I don't know if you can see her.
Where's Grace?
Right there.
Hey. Hi, Grace. Grace. Nice pup.
I have to bring Jack the cat in, too.
Yeah.
Nice pup. Yeah, go get Jack the cat. I'll go get Meta.
Yeah. I'm not going to go get Jack. He doesn't.
Jack doesn't come on command.
Yeah, he has his own timeline.
There's, hey, Meta. There's Meta.
Aww.
Good girl. You stay on the porch, right? All right.
Border Collie?
I'll see.
Ah.
I had Border Collies. I had Fiddle. Oh, man. Border Collies. Australian Shepherds are like 6 clicks more mellow.
But no dogs right now. Just cats.
And Jack's in the house. He's one. He's just little. Yeah. But he doesn't stay on the porch so well.
Oh, you have a dog named Jack?
We do. Yeah. We have two. There's
confusing.
Meta and there's Jack. Yeah, Jack the cat and Jack the pup. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've lost control of this meeting, so I'm going to bring it back.
Bring your pet to work day.
Bring your pet to work day, yeah!
I just want to make sure everyone of our clients knows that in addition to the recordings, we also have various COVID-19 updates related to all the challenges we're facing. And related to that, we have a Ring Central section because I want to talk a little bit about hosting video meetings. And a lot of our clients are using either Ring Central or Zoom or some form of video meetings. And
like it or not.
There's been a lot of talk in the news about Zoom. First, it was very good. It was very popular. Almost overnight, everybody was adopting Zoom. And in fact, we even had clients saying to us, oh, can we use Zoom? And I had to show them that they're actually already using Zoom if they're using Ring Central. But then it turned a little not so good recently. And I wanted to talk briefly about how there's really no need to be concerned about what you're hearing in the news as long as you take steps to protect your meetings. And Chad, chime in here, but I think the number one step is don't broadcast your meeting ID or URL publicly, right? Don't share.
Yeah, just try to be discreet with stuff. I mean, that's general. That's a good rule in a lot of areas, really, but especially here, because if we just share a personal meeting, link that's kind of generic and not specific to a meeting that we set up, right? So there's the way Zoom and thinks about this stuff or presents this stuff to us as an audience, or the users of their products, is different than, say, the way a Google Hangouts, or now it's called Meet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of us know as Hangouts. The way those things work is very different. They're very instantaneous, kind of, where you just kind of say, "Oh, Meet," and it's integrated with the calendar and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Zoom has a different approach, and there's meetings that we set up. We schedule that meeting, and we have specific people, and that goes out to those specific people, that invite and those links. And then there's another way in Zoom to just have a generic link that, like, anytime we want to have a meeting, we just start one, and it's not inviting anybody specific. It's not on the calendar. It's not scheduled. And that way of sharing meetings has some additional risk. And that's what Ben's talking about, is if we schedule, on a calendar, use the calendar function to schedule these meetings, that's a better approach than just sharing the same link over and over again with other people. And it's hard to wrap our minds around it if we haven't used these things before, but they don't all work the same. They all have their different kind of approach. Even Ring Central, is a Zoom kind of a skin around Zoom. And there are some subtleties there, right, Ben, in the way that we kind of configure them.
Yeah, I think all of these video sharing solutions have, security issues if you're not aware of them. And it's a little unfair that people came down so harshly on Zoom for something that people really had some control over, meaning anyone who's sharing URLs publicly is really inviting the public in. Unfortunately, the public now is probably made up of, young people who don't have fully developed brains and a lot of time on their hands. So they're, Zoom bombing and crashing meetings. And I'm not saying that's appropriate or anything they should be doing, but there are ways you can protect yourself. So in addition to not sharing your URL, there are two additional options that both Ring Central and Zoom offer. And that is, you could passcode protect your meetings. So everyone who requires, who you let into the meeting needs a passcode. I personally think that that's a hurdle that might be a little hard to overcome, because you've got to share that passcode. And, that's one of the reasons why Zoom is so popular, is they made it easy for people to.
They really did.
Meetings.
They really did, and I think that's the Google Hangouts, or now Meet is a similar sort of thing. People didn't really, they didn't even feel the learning curve. We just start using, and that's really what we want as as users of technology. We don't want things to be complicated. We really don't want to have to think about them much at all. Like driving a car. When cars first came out, it was really complicated. Now it's really second nature. To everybody that's been driving a car for a while. Even kids that don't drive in cars, they ride in cars, right? I think that's a cool analogy for teaching kids good security when they're using like a conference like this. How many of you have gone over, Ben, you have older kids, and Michelle, how old are your kids, Michelle?
20 and 16.
Oh, okay. So you have like almost grown-up brains that you can, what kinds of conversations have you had with the kids? Have you shown them how to?
You're not grown up at that point. I can.
Yeah, no, that's 16, but 20, it's like
30 maybe.
Kids,
I don't know.
30. Well, what kinds of conversations have you had though with them about, having secure? I mean, we've had some conversations with our little ones about having, secure Zoom calls, and how do you guys talk about it?
Well,
Probably a new conversation.
Yeah. Well, the college student's pretty self-sufficient, and her Zoom calls are all for school anyway, so she's figured it out. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And as a participant, it is very easy to join a Zoom call. The challenge is even the universities, need to be aware of the security risk. And if some of them are posting the URL publicly with no passcode, then anyone can get into the meeting. So I think at the very least, don't share the URL. And even whether you do or you don't, for whatever purpose you're trying to get people into your meeting, we chose to enable the waiting room feature. So rather than give everyone a passcode, we have a waiting room. So when you join a meeting, you're put into a waiting room, and then the host or co-host must let you in. And if it's a large meeting, you can say, let everyone in, or you can let them in individually, or you can even I accidentally let someone in who I don't know whether they're causing a disruption or not. You can then put them back into the waiting room. So you're essentially giving control to the host to allow people in or ask them to leave or kick them out.
These issues would have come up no matter what we use, right? It would have been issues with Teams or Google Meet or whatever. I'm also, seeing a lot of, and trying to point out, and compassionate ways when I see, kids and grownups alike, having their meeting in a place where you want to be kind of mindful of where you're having these meetings, right? Maybe not in a place that identifies too much about your house or your family, right? For example,
not on the front porch with your address in the background.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think about that stuff, right? With kids have been walking around here, and they're out in the yard, and they can see the address, right? For example, it's tricky because we want to incorporate these things into our lives. But at the same time, it's like one of the kids had a performance this week. They're doing all their music lessons online, right? And so we used to just drive them over to the music school every week, but now they're doing it remotely. And rather than have the camera show their siblings and everything playing and sitting and reading behind them when they're at the piano, for example, we figured out a way to have the camera go literally right down the keyboard. So it's only showing their hands. It's not even showing their face, right? So there's a lot of considerations that add, this kind of resilient sort of privacy and security, also that are outside of, configuration of software. There's a lot of things we can do and recommendations we can make to help, grownups and kids alike in work and personal, learn some good practices.
Right. And even when we're having the meeting, if we're recording the meeting like we are now, if we talk about something or share something on the screen that maybe we shouldn't, then we have to be careful about posting that.
Yep.
And that we either need to edit that or blur it out, or just decide for whatever reason we cannot make this public, or we have to password protect it behind some type of security, login. So there are ways, I guarantee you, in all of these platforms, there are ways to better secure your meetings. It's just how far do you want to go? It's that balance of ease of use and security, and finding the balance that allows people to remain secure, but also have a
make it usable.
Usable meeting.
For sure.
So if anyone has questions, if anyone has questions about that, let us know. And I want to remind everyone, in our Ring Central section, we do have tips for better Ring Central meetings, and we added the part about security here at the top. And then I'd want to point out, because we had this question come up earlier today, how can I schedule meetings for others on my team? And there are ways, both in Zoom and Ring Central, that you can authorize somebody to schedule meetings on your behalf, so that you're scheduling or the assistant is scheduling, and the host, you make someone else the host. So in all these sort of security scenarios, the host needs to be present. What we're seeing is some people we're scheduling, basically, like I would schedule, as an example, maybe a meeting for all three of us. But if those meetings conflicted or happened at the same time, the meeting can't take place, right? Because Chad, if you try to join a meeting I've scheduled in my name while I'm having a meeting, it's like, wait a minute, no, Ben's in a meeting. What are you talking about? So
yeah.
that's the improper use of meetings, but the proper way is to give someone the ability to schedule on your behalf. And so I have to grant access to, say, Michelle or Chad to schedule on my behalf. So there are ways around that, and if you need help, let us know.
It's really easy to know when you've made a mistake. That's one of the things I do like about it too, is, I remember getting links from other people. When I lived in Alaska, all this stuff was remote, right? We couldn't always be on site, and it's a big place. So a lot of the folks there really have already had a lot of experience because they don't have a choice, having a lot of meetings. We used to have these big, systems installed in conference rooms that were unwieldy, and, so when they worked, they were great, but they didn't. And like looking at the camera, for example, right? Like it's easy to forget to make eye contact, so to speak, with people online. There's a lot of things that can add, a lot of value to it. It's not easy. It's definitely not, for everybody as we're learning. There's probably some people that are better suited to work remotely than others, but it's something that now I'm reading that a lot of organizations are going to make it more a permanent part of life. And so anything we can do to make it usable and friendly and, almost bearable for some folks is a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, all this takes practice, and we're all learning at the same time, and we're learning, not to have meetings like this. Hey guys.
Sure. Yeah, it's easy though, right? It's easy to do. Yeah.
Okay. So as you have questions or feedback or anything about hosting a meeting, let us know, and we can help you out. And then I wanted to also mention PII Protect. There have been, as we've talked in the past, Chad and Michelle, there have been people taking advantage of this situation. And in fact, we got a phishing email this morning. I think Mike got one that said,
a good one.
Having troubles with your video meetings, here's how you can fix that.
Yeah.
Knowing that a lot of people are having trouble with their video meetings, they might be tempted to click that link, and that link was a phishing email.
Yeah.
So
I've seen about 3 or 4 this week that were just insidious like that. It's hard to keep up with them. It's just really trust but verify everything you get that has a link or seems too good to be true. It probably is.
And sorry, that reminds me, RingCentral troubleshooting steps. We've seen some isolated issues, but enough that we built this K-base on how to fix issues with RingCentral. It appears to affect Zoom as well, because RingCentral relies on Zoom. Although
and K-base is knowledge base for anybody who doesn't know what a K-base is.
Thank you.
That's a knowledge base. It's just a bunch of articles with some useful information.
Yeah, and this is really written for our own team, our own internal team. But I wanted to make it public as we kind of work through it to see if we did have any feedback or comments on it. It's basically how to take something that's not working and clean it up to a point where it is usable. And I just got a chime that somebody's trying to join our meeting. This is the waiting room, and
hey, we can't see your desktop, by the way. We can only see this page. I don't know if you wanted us to be able to see the videos in your recording.
Oh no, I think that's fine. You can't see the video.
Okay.
Can you see it now, the video? No.
No, like our heads, like our faces, we can't see that. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see how the recording. We'll see how the recording works. I don't know if it's going to superimpose our videos on there or not. I'll stop this right now. So we did have somebody just now join us because we're trying to wrap up now. I think I'm just going to keep them in the waiting room and end this here in just a minute. Let me sit. Okay, before I stop sharing my screen, I want to say one more thing about PII Protect.
Sure.
So PII Protect is the security awareness training that we use and that some of our clients use. And due to the current situation, they've given us a special license that would allow us to, for a limited time, share this with all of our clients. So I'm going to be putting out an email to those clients that don't yet have this. And if they're interested, we're going to help them get spun up. And even if they're not interested, I think it's worth us having a conversation about why this really is important.
For sure.
So for those of you who are not currently doing security awareness training, I encourage you to start right away. And whether it's with our program or one of your own.
It's a really good time. The amounts of crime, online and offline, we were just talking about, I was sharing some information with the team this morning, that, physical crime, unfortunately, is up, as well as online crime, because more people, it's kind of like the holidays. We usually see a 400 to 700% increase in phishing and online crime during the holidays. It spins up right around October, end of September, beginning October, and maintains a pretty steady stream until, after February, March. So instead of that tapering off this time of year, like it usually does, it's just amplified because of the scenario that we're in, and more people are working online. And so the level of those kinds of, crimes are up like 140% for this time of the year. I read some numbers the last couple of days. So it's this awareness training is, if no one's doing it, or you've wanted to get, more momentum behind it, now is a really great time. I agree.
Yeah. I can't stress enough that we just don't know what the security awareness expertise is of every member of our team. So we have to do the best to give them the tools to get everyone at a certain minimum level. And I know we've all gone through this training, and I still learn something from it.
It's pretty painless.
Yeah.
It's not so bad. It's definitely not the worst I've seen. I've seen some pretty lousy ones.
Well, I read, or not, I didn't read. I was talking to a client who's they're in a large corporation, and they still do the sexual harassment training videos. And I guess those videos are like twice as long as this.
Oh yeah.
So
I remember those for sure.
There's some pretty intense programs out there. But anyway, so hosting Ring Central meetings or Zoom meetings or any meeting, be aware of your security. Kudos to Chris Youngstead, the Wizards. Congratulate him on 20 years and security awareness training. If you don't have something in place, reach out to us so we can help you with that. And I'll be sending the email out to our primary contacts who don't have that very soon. So we're going to wrap this for today. We're going to try to keep these to a half hour every week, and hope to have more participants.
Thanks for joining us.
Future. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks for your time, everybody.
Okay. Bye.
Ciao.